going to get going here in a couple minutes here with the amazing webinar we have planned with USA Softball. We'll just kind of chill for a minute here as we see a couple more people that are registered jumping in, and then we'll start it off here. Couple of housekeeping things too as we get going here. This is being recorded and it will be sent out to everybody afterwards. So if you can't make the whole thing, you'll get to see a recording of this with the email you registered with. If you need to, if you came in with a different email or something, let us know. And then we'll follow up too if anybody wants some more information on any of the things we talk about here. So I think we're good to go. Zach, you want to kind of kick us off?
Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. We are going to talk about how USA Softball identifies top talent at all of their selection events across the United States, and then they have their national selection event down in Florida. So we're super happy to have Chris on here and then David from SportsEngine. We will be kind of talking about inside the USA Softball high performance program, how they use us, TeamGenius, and then SportsEngine. And then we'll have some time to ask Chris and Gabe and David some questions. So I'll have Skelly have everyone kind of introduce themselves. We'll start with you, Chris.
Yep. Chris Sebren with USA Softball. I'm our Chief Sport Development and Performance Officer. I've been in this role since 2017. In 2020, when COVID hit, we had been talking about an opportunity to create an identifier program for our grassroots athletes for a while. And with the shutdown, we were able to really put in some work and develop this program. And we're now going into essentially year 6 with it. And this being year 4 with our national selection event that we're hosting in Florida later this month. So our goal with the program is to obviously give kids across the U.S. the opportunity to be seen, and then ultimately, hopefully make a USA U15 or U18 team. So thanks.
I'm Gabe Skelly here from TeamGenius, Customer Success Manager. I've been here for 8 years, worked with the USA Softball HPP program and Chris since we started working with them, almost 6 years ago. I've been to a lot of the Minnesota regional events that have been held in Minnesota through COVID years and then non-COVID years and everything in between. And it's been amazing to see the program grow and just the excitement of all the kids that go to the events and just see that process happening as we move towards the Olympics and things in coming years.
Yeah, and I'm David Urbaniak here at SportsEngine. So been at SportsEngine since 2010, so about 15 years now. We're a pretty small company then, and we've grown to be a much larger company now. I'm excited to be here with everybody. Work with USA Softball in a couple of different ways: website, a lot of their club organizations, as well as background screening. So happy to join and talk about our technology a bit more. Kind of a full service technology solution here at SportsEngine. So appreciate you guys having me here.
So a little bit about the USA Softball high performance program. People aren't totally familiar. Chris is going to talk a lot about that, but just highlights that we know about is it's known as the pipeline to the women's national team. There's regional and national events designed to uncover top talent across all ages. So it's pretty sweet where you can go in and have athletes of all ages show up to these events and try out or be evaluated by other All-Americans and people that are part of the USA Softball program, and just see how they stack up against everybody else that's in their age and gender group and position. Standardized process is data driven, ensuring every athlete gets a fair look, and performance insights to guide the athlete's development and Team USA selections. That's one of the big things we've helped with when we talked to Chris, in 2020 or 2019 about how to help this program, is how do we keep data-driven insights so that they know who the best athletes are, that they can keep those things year over year to see as athletes progress, and how can they do an easy way to roll out nationally where, wherever they are, the technology still works. So yeah, super exciting to be part of this program as it keeps progressing.
Awesome. Yeah. And then Skelly, do you want to ask Chris some questions about, his time with the high performance program, what they're kind of looking for, and then how will you kind of support them with their program?
Yeah. So I guess I've got some questions for Chris. And if there's anybody that's in the chat that has specific questions or that's on the call in, let us know too, because we're certainly open to answering any questions about the program or, TeamGenius or SportsEngine in general too. First one, so Chris, I got for you the selection and ID process. Can you elaborate on the metrics that you guys use and the criteria used to evaluate the kids in the high performance program beyond, general skills and beyond?
Yeah, obviously we want, the numbers to make sense as we look at athletes across our different age groups. The events are open for ages 12 through 18 in a given year. And for USA Softball, we're actually looking at specifically birth years, basically how old an athlete is in that year. So my son is a 2008 birth year. So depending on when he turns 17 this year, it doesn't matter. We're looking at him as a 17-year-old. It's different than most softball organizations, but as we rolled out this program, we're looking at basically international birth age groups. So that's one thing to think of. But we're looking at speed and agility with 5-10-5, a 20 and 40-yard dash. Again, easy measurable things. Overhand velocity, exit speed off a tee, those types of numbers that are hard numbers, but obviously we're also looking at their skills, and we're bringing in our national team athletes or professional athletes to do our evaluation. So we may have a Michelle Moultrie who played in the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo evaluating the outfielders. We may have a Sam Fisher who was part of a previous team looking at infielders. So we're trying to bring in top athletes that have played at the highest level to be a part of our evaluation process. And that's what goes into it. And then, obviously, as we start looking at the overall athlete with all of their numbers through TeamGenius, that goes into, some of the decision-making process that we have. But those are some of the things that, we're looking at, general skills that can be measured. And then obviously those other things that we need somebody to put an eye on.
What, before I go into the question too, that I kind of had preset here, Chris, like what would an athlete do? Like if somebody's watching this and they work with athletes, like what do you do to have to be, get into the program, like sign up, register, like where would you do that?
We have our registration through SportsEngine. It's listed on our website under usasoftball.com. They're able to go to the website, find on the drop-down menu high performance program, and we have a list of all of our identifiers. This past year, 2024, we had 20 identifiers across the U.S. We were also in Hawaii, so we want to make sure we give athletes an opportunity. We had athletes from all 50 states actually participate in local identifiers. And we have athletes at our national selection event in December representing 44 states. So, but you don't have to be a member of USA Softball. That's one thing we wanted to eliminate, a boundary or restriction. If your athlete plays softball, your team plays softball, and they're with another organization, it doesn't matter. We want to make sure all athletes have an opportunity to participate in this program for a chance to make our U15 or U18 national teams.
And being at the events I've been at, like they're a lot of fun too. I mean, there's a lot of energy there with the kids coming to them and the people that are doing the evaluations that are, part of USA Softball and have done, amazing things in their own careers. Part of it too is the kids do they usually get a t-shirt and like they get a report of how they did or something? I know for sure a t-shirt that I've seen.
Yeah, every athlete gets a t-shirt. We guarantee those if they register, by a certain deadline, but we do allow even late registration as late as the morning of the event. So that is something that we allow, and then there's no restriction if somebody finds out about it last minute. They get a specific number, kind of like you go run a 5K and you get a number for that event. We have a USA Softball event number that they're able to keep as well. And then after the event, we do send out reports. so that they are able to share their metrics. If they have desire to go to college, those are things that colleges like to see. They like to see those measurable numbers. We use laser timers, we use pocket radars, stopwatches for certain things, but we try to make it as professional and as the process is seamless as they get to the event. We have the program has been done for multiple years now. We have multiple stations set up, so it's an easy flow for athletes. It's less than a half a day commitment, normally starting at 8 a.m. and being done by noon. We try to send enough evaluators based on registration. So if we have 50 kids, we'll have a few evaluators there. If we have 100 kids, we'll have 5 or more evaluators there. So again, trying to, just make the process as easy as possible. But we do use local support for hitting fungo, registering or checking in athletes, maybe writing down scores from our evaluators. But all of the evaluation is done by our staff or our athletes and not someone local. So we try to eliminate as much bias as possible in the process. Most of the time, the athletes are just a number on a sheet of paper or in the system. Most of our evaluators have no idea who's at an event. They're strictly looking at what they're doing, their body of work that morning, to create that evaluative number.
Awesome. Kind of rolling into that, once an athlete, makes it into the HPP program. So like if you have somebody that's selected as, say, a U15 athlete, how do you guys support them with your program, and what happens to that athlete once they enter in? And if they're selected as like a top athlete, all the way up to, say, like the top women's team?
Yeah, I think it's been really cool since we started the program, especially the selection event in 2022, naming our first U15 team from that event to participate in 2023. They got to go to Lima, Peru, as well as Japan for a World Cup. But, the process is obviously going to the local identifier and being invited to the national selection event. That's the first big thing. We have thousands of kids who participate every year, and then we end up with like 400 plus at the national selection event. So we're talking about a large number of kids that we're looking at and bringing into, and I say bringing in as inviting to Florida to participate in that final event. At the final event, we do identify top athletes at each age group. So we try to give them, the recognition they deserve by doing well at that final event. Those kids that are identified as top athletes get an automatic invite the following year. They've done the work. And they've done those things to get that automatic invite back. So they kind of get a pass from having to go to a local identifier the following year. And then something we're starting new this year, because there has been some disconnect, to be quite honest. But this year we're looking at bringing all those top performers, as well as maybe some athletes identified specifically by the selection committee, to Oklahoma City in June to participate in an individual camp with our women's and junior women's coaches. And that way they get, even though they may not be part of a specific team, it gives our coaches another opportunity to get a look at them. It gets them into our program with regards to seeing what our women do and our junior women do when they're together for practices or heading to competition. And then with those athletes in June, we'll actually have some internal games amongst athletes, and then we'll be looking at scheduling some games against some other teams in the local area as well, so they can play together. But it's been as signing day was tomorrow for essentially our first group of U15 athletes. It's been pretty amazing to watch those athletes progress through the challenge of being evaluated and going on visits to schools, and then finally committing and signing yesterday. So I think that's been a big thrill of ours with that first U15 group to see how they've grown and where they've ended up going to college. And in 2 years, because they're all juniors right now signing, we'll be looking forward to see how they do as freshmen in college. But to that end, even with our U18 program, hearing some of our coaches talk about, does that kid have a chance at LA 28? Should they be in the mix? I think it's pretty interesting to tell, you know, because you're talking about a high school junior or senior that they're maybe having that conversation about. Don't know if it's possible that somebody that young could make an LA 28 team, but just to hear that they're talking about some of those kids and could they factor in is pretty interesting conversation with our coaches.
You know, that kind of factors into the one of the questions I had coming up here about versatility and resilience as kids, you know, move through the program and age out. I was actually at something with one of my kids that are running athletes, and they were talking to a professional athlete about what it was like transitioning from high school to college. And you kind of mentioned a little bit, Chris, some of these athletes are going to go into college, you know, after they, you know, in the program, maybe going to the Olympics, and just that difference. And I think that's where, you know, resilience really comes in, is like going from being at home where you've got structured life with your parents and family and meals, and like you got to go to bed at a certain time and rules, to like going into college. And you know, how do you guys, you know, prepare athletes to face that kind of versatility and like keep being a top athlete?
Yeah, well, I think versatility is huge for us in our game because of roster sizes. For World Cup events, we have a roster of 16. For the Olympics, we only have a roster of 15. So, you know, what else can you do? How, I don't want to say narrow, but like you got to be able to do other things. It's hard unless you're a pitcher only and you're really, really good to not have some flexibility with what you can do, you know, defensively. So, you know, those infielders, can they play a secondary position? With our program, we actually offer the opportunity for kids to be evaluated at 2 positions. And we do it all the time. We may see an athlete that maybe on paper with our evaluation, just based on the number of kids are at an event, their primary position may be shortstop, but maybe there's a lot of shortstops there. They're lower than maybe some of the other shortstops at the event, but they did better than some of the outfielders at that event. So we may invite them as an outfielder. Again, and once we get to December, we still try to give everybody an opportunity to play both positions, except if they're a pitcher or catcher, because those are real specific, and we just can't. We want to make sure everybody gets decent inning numbers when they come to our event, because we do play some games at the national selection event. But I think versatility is the biggest thing. If you're not training at another position on the regular, I think you should be, because it will come into play. You see a lot of kids go into college, at least we have seen it, that, you know, maybe they're primarily a middle infielder or a third baseman, but they have an opening because they can hit really well in the outfield. So I think versatility is huge as kids grow up, and you know, I think playing multiple sports also helps with that as well. So you know, getting some time in on the volleyball court or on the soccer field, all those things that help you be more agile in life, I think is also important. You know, when you're playing sports.
I've definitely seen some studies put out on, you know, kids being multi-sport athletes with, you know, injury prevention, where their bodies are more used to the varieties of movements and things to have a little more resilience on that too. Kind of last big question I had is, so, you know, coming up with the Olympics in 2028, you know, are you guys changing up your programs, or what kind of things are you doing to get ready for and support athletes, you know, going to the Olympics coming up here?
Yeah, you know, obviously with our women's program, that, you know, things are evolving. You know, as we've moved in and out of the Olympic program just based on location. Softball is an additional sport for LA 28. You know, we're working on trying to get softball added for Brisbane 32, which is in Australia. Our women's team actually heads to Australia the day after Christmas to play a series of games down there to kind of promote the sport of softball to that committee who's going to be deciding on what sports they may put up as extra sports. But obviously the training, the competition is going to increase over the next couple of years for our women's programs. Obviously, you know, trying to go from an athlete pool of 36 or 40 down to 15 eventually is not easy. The number of elite softball players we have in the United States is unbelievable. We're a very fortunate country when it comes to that, with all the time and effort spent by parents and coaches, whether it be, you know, recreational ball or travel ball or whatever. They spend a lot of time and money on softball, and obviously that's good for us because it makes it easier whenever we're looking at athletes. So, and there's a lot of good athletes out there, and that's a good problem to have for USA. But when it comes to our high performance program, obviously it's driven for our 12 to 18-year-olds, and we'll obviously continue to hopefully grow and evaluate what we can do better for the athletes. I think we're taking one step this summer with regards to bringing in those young athletes and being a part of what our women's program is going through with those coaches and our junior women's program. So we'll see how that goes this summer and see how we can continue to develop what we're doing. And we take a lot of feedback from parents. I did a survey last December and had over 150 parents participate in that survey and give us feedback. So I think that's always important to take that in consideration with what we're doing and what we're promoting and what we're providing throughout the program. And the selection event is more than just going back through the drills and playing games. We actually have educational things going on down there at the same time. Trying to implement some stuff with you guys this year with added metric stuff. So that'll be something new for those athletes to go through, and how do we incorporate that in the future? So hopefully we'll be rolling that out next year at some point. But I think, we've got to go figure out a way to beat Japan on our home soil for LA 28 and bring that gold back to the USA where we think it belongs.
Awesome. I appreciate all of your insights, Chris. I think we're going to go move into just I'll talk about Team Genius for just a minute or two about, how you guys use that or a little bit of that. And then David's going to chat a little bit about SportsEngine and how they support your programs. And like I said before, if anybody wants more details, reach out to me or David or Chris. What's the best way to get more information on the high performance program, Chris? Is it go into the website?
Yeah, go to usasoftball.com, and the drop down menu, you'll be able to find a high performance program. Click on that link and it'll take you towards the bottom of the page. We have what we call our program guide, basically lays out what our program is and what we do. There's an on-field manual of every event and how we evaluate it. So it tells you specifically. So it is something that you can essentially train for, prepare for as you're going to the event. So those are the best locations. Obviously, HPP at usasoftball.com is an email that goes to all of our staff that's involved with the high performance program. So you can send a general email to us at that email, and somebody will get back to you normally within 24 to 48 hours, if not sooner.
I was looking at your LinkedIn post too. It looks like you guys are hiring a bunch of positions right now for different regions.
We have some local commissioner spots that are open right now. Florida, Indiana, I believe, St. Louis. So yeah, we have some commissioner spots. And those folks are generally over the softball programs within those states or areas that we work with. And obviously we're working with those individuals when we're trying to schedule and coordinate local identifiers.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Zach, do we have another slide next up here? Sweet. So just a little bit about, Team Genius specifically in relation to the relationship here. If you guys want to go to our website, you can click the QR code or teamgenius.com. Really high level, Team Genius is an athlete evaluation tool. We've got apps that coaches and evaluators can use on the field to score and evaluate athletes, put in comments, capture feedback. And that all goes to a dashboard where administrators can see all the details come in and, then choose how they want to, place players on teams or evaluate them moving forward. It's very data driven, which is nice, where you can just see all the data from each individual evaluator and coach. You can seamlessly select rosters and then share those details of who's on what team or who made what position, as well as like feedback reports with players and families. We've been developing it for a long time. A lot of the things we put in place are custom with USA Softball. We've developed things alongside them to really support, the softball programs, this identifier program. Like I said, if you guys are interested, click on the QR code or go to teamgenius.com, and I'm happy to share more information. I'll also be at the the softball convention coming up here in Las Vegas. So yeah, excited to chat with anybody interested to learn more.
Gabe, if I can say something as well about the program, I think it's, whenever we started using TeamGenius back in 2020, fortunate to stumble across their website with one of our employees, and I think the way they do it and the fact we're able to look at numbers specifically for athletes by age, by position, and that's what we're comparing athletes to. We're looking at the 12-year-olds or 13-year-olds and only comparing them against those 12 and 13-year-olds whenever it comes to evaluating or inviting athletes. But you can look at, on the reports or the screens online, you can look at all of the numbers at one time across the board to see how athletes compare. And obviously, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to look at the holistic athlete and what those numbers look like across the board. How are they in their running and hitting and defense evaluation and things like that? Where do they fall short, maybe compared to somebody else in their same age group? So that's what's been really nice about having that program work for us to help us make some of those decisions, is we can look at everything at one time and compare strategically across the age group.
Yeah, it's been really good to see what you guys need and develop some of these things alongside your program, and more to come in the near future.
Yes.
Awesome. We're going to move on to just chatting a little bit about SportsEngine here and how they support the program. What they do is support, the softball community. David here is an amazing wizard over at SportsEngine, and he knows lots about their technology and how they support programs. So turn it over to David to give us some ideas on SportsEngine and how softball programs can use you guys.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Gabe. And thank you, Chris, as well. Yeah, I love the sentiment of bringing the gold home here. And so let's do that. Yeah, no, it's great to be here. Partnership with USA Softball, talk about that just a bit. So we do have their website on our system here, and we also do background screens for USA Softball, as well as help out a lot of their clubs, administer kind of technology that I'll talk about here today. So they've been a great partner here for many years. So appreciate you guys and all you do for the game of softball and servicing all of your clubs. And I think we can kind of just get into the questions, and I'll kind of touch upon a lot of our products within a lot of those questions.
Yeah, so can you just give us a quick overview of SportsEngine and kind of how you help softball organizations with their problems and kind of problems that you solve for them?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, we're here to try to make sports operations a lot easier, as easy as we possibly can, with kind of a full service end-to-end platform solution, based around what organizations need, using our features. So some of that would be having an attractive website, building it on one of our templates, and promoting organizations, their organization within that, having it mobile friendly, easy to adjust. A lot of these people are volunteers, a lot of turnover within clubs year over year. So the ability to make sure organizations know how to update websites, what we call layout containers, which is kind of shifting around the way a website looks and using various page elements. So that can be, news, it can be events, it can be posting registration links, season management, or data like that. So really anything on the front side of the site. Some of our other tools is memberships. So being part of an organization, a lot of organizations, want to have that feeling where people are a part of their organization and being a member of that. Within that, organizations can charge various amounts for that. They can have eligibility requirements. So that could be a background screen. That's super important from a coaching staff perspective, to make sure that the right people are coaching the kids, and anyone that shouldn't be, is being flagged for that. So background screen, super important within our system. Custom credentials. So really that would be like a registration that can be customized for whatever an organization wants to. So the ability to ask any kind of training questions they want, and then a registrant would need to go through that, and that could be approved automatically or manual within our system. So just ways of an organization being able to get what they need from their players or staff. But really, administering registration is another, thing to solve as far as getting that data into the admin's hands. Um, Electronic documents, so different kind of waivers that people need to sign before they're playing, to make sure the organization is protected via their insurance or anything like that. Um, the ability to collect funds. So, that happens within registration. That can happen within an invoicing. So, really, in our system, anyone can be invoiced for any amount. So, think like sponsorships that an organization might want to charge for, teams, really any kind of payments that need to be, accepted that can be administered in our system, with various payment terms. So, any amount at any time, any duration of payments back to that organization. I'd say, building season management tools, so ability to build teams into divisions, having schedules for those teams, scoring those games, having that affect standings, and then posting that on a website and kind of a permission structure within that so the right people can kind of do the right things within an organization. Can take a small army, I should say, to run some of these sports organizations. So being able to make sure that only certain people can do the things that they need to do is a big element of our system. Communications, people need to know when to do things, how to do things. So we have communications within our directory. That would be basically anyone that enters the organization via registration. We have the ability to communicate via registration, season management. So that would be more team communication as well as chat. And that would be kind of, players within a team communicating to each other. And then, other things like solution around class signups with our Go Motion product, the ability to stream games. So if, grandpa or grandma can't make it to the game, or, any family member can't make it to the game, being able to stream those games and have, anybody watch that. So really connecting more people together to view youth sports has been a big focus the last few years for sure. And other problems we're trying to solve is just making everything affordable, making these tools accessible and affordable for our organizations. And, we're doing that by just having conversations with organizations and meeting organizations with where they're at, and just trying to get in front of people the best we can. So long way to answer that, but really we're kind of trying to do everything for these organizations, I'd say, except for the exception of like what our partners can do better, like TeamGenius and that kind of tool is, we're trying to integrate with partners that are within the youth sports realm that can simply just do things better than we can, or more specialized, I guess, than we would approach.
We've got some sweet stuff going on with our partnership too. I know if anybody on the call is use SportsEngine, we've had integrations. SportsEngine was our first partner in integration, kind of dating back from when we were still a startup, back when SportsEngine was also kind of a startup. There was a pitch back in their Northeast Minneapolis office here in Minnesota, and we all worked out of the same offices. So there's a long, deep history of TeamGenius and SportsEngine working together. We're currently working on reworking our integration so you can pull in your registration from SportsEngine. Basically, the click of a button, set it to automatically pull as players register with whatever custom details you want. We're also working on a push. So like if you guys form teams and do rosters of your teams, you could be able to push those right into SportsEngine. And then also some features around being able to do like in-season evaluations where you can, pull your players back into TeamGenius as a team, assign a coach and have them evaluate their players. So some really cool stuff just to streamline processes and make them easier. I know that we'll also all be at the softball convention coming up here in about a month. So it'd be awesome to touch base with anybody on the call here or just watching this and talk about how, we can all work together with SportsEngine and TeamGenius to make your process better for your parents and athletes and administrators and everybody else. David, what's the best way to get more information from you guys? Is that your email address or the QR code here? Or?
Yeah, so within that QR code, you can sign up for a demo for sure. Yeah, we'll be at booth 448 at the softball conference as well. So we'll be there alongside, and yeah, that I would say that would be the best way to reach out, or just visit sportsengine.com and set up a call that way as well.
Awesome. And this is Zach. This is our booth at that convention.
Yep.
So yeah, if anybody's going to be at the convention, we'll be at booth 506. Come chat with us and Sports Engine. Little teaser too. So one of our partnerships, they were very close with is Hagen Dynamics, and they are a company that does a lot of data measurement tools. So force plates and accelerometers and grip strength and force output. So that's one of the new things Chris kind of alluded to that will be at the HPP selection event. We'll be there with some sports physiologists doing some data testing. And you can also come see that and give it a try at the conventions coming up here. At our booth, we'll have force plates and grip strength, and we'll probably have a leaderboard. So if you're a coach or somebody involved in softball, or anybody from Sports Engine wants to come over, love to see how everybody jumps and their jump height and their grip strength. I'm not somebody that has any jump, but it's fun to see everybody outperform me on that one. I usually do pretty good on the grip strength, but it'll be a lot of fun. So excited to see people in person at the convention coming up here. So. If anybody has any questions, like I said, we'll send this out to everybody that's been part of this, and the recording will be posted. Let me, Zach, Chris, or David know if you have any questions, want to follow up with anything, or would like a demo of TeamGenius, Sports Engine, or any of the integrations between us, and see how we can help your program.